Our next speaker joins us as our special alumni guest, and despite some travel woes, he arrived with about an hour and a half to spare. He's a 2005 graduate of the Mendoza College of Business, a three-time Monogram winner as a member of our Irish football program, where he finished with a school record 24 and a half sacks. Following a standout career in South Bend at the defensive end position, he enjoyed an 11-year career in the National Football League, winning 2 Super Bowl championships as a member of the New York Giants. After retiring from football in 2016, he went on to earn his master's in business administration from the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania. Currently holding the title of Vice President for Goldman Sachs in New York City, how about a warm welcome for Justin Tuck?
Well, I first want to apologize for my attire. United Airlines did not want me to don my beautiful blue suit with nice gold tie. So, yes, I am a little underdressed tonight, so I apologize. I mean, as you can see, I don't prepare remarks, which sometimes gets me in trouble. So I'll ask you to bear with me, but I figure as I start talking, because this place is so special to me, it'll all come around. What did this place mean to me? So I was walking around and, eating, and I was listening to people talk, and I was asking questions. And, I have a pet peeve. I really hate giving speeches, and I also hate giving speeches that everyone has heard before. And I'm assuming that everyone in this room has been successful in all walks of life that they've come across up until this point. You wouldn't be here if you haven't. So you've done these banquets before. So I want to kind of talk a little bit about my history here and how I got here and what happened while I was here and what's happened since I left, and tie it back into what I hope for all of our Monogram winners here today. So, if you can imagine the unlikely event of being recruited by the University of Notre Dame by accident, well, that happened in 2001. Kellington, Alabama was the place. Coach Greg Madison went the wrong direction to the wrong high school one night and saw this skinny kid wearing number 80 because he liked Jerry Rice. Only part about that, I was playing middle linebacker. A lot of things out of place. So, I'm trying not to brag here, but after 24 tackles, 4 sacks, and 4 touchdowns that night, they said maybe we went to the right place. So, Notre Dame was actually the first school that recruited me. Luckily for me, I made the right decision to come here. And one thing I heard in the recruiting process, excuse me, my wife is calling me, so I need to tell her I'll call her back. So one phrase that stuck with me throughout the entire, recruiting process was this thing of you don't come to Notre Dame for 4 years, you come to Notre Dame forever. And at the time, it didn't make too much sense to me. Again, I'm this country, Alabama kid, only knew about Roll Tide and so on and so forth. But as I came here, year after year, it started to make sense. And I was telling a couple of football players here earlier today that I didn't appreciate what Notre Dame stood for while I was here. Because when you're here, you're kind of in your own little bubble. And we all have our goals of what we want to take from the university and go on and all the successes that we want to have when we leave this place. And I did I did myself an injustice by not kind of, taking the blinders off while I was here. So while I was here, it was, obviously the classroom, the football field, the weight room, and focused on, after those 4 years, how successful I was going to be. And that worked out pretty well for me. But when I left here, one thing I realized was something I missed. And I'm trying to save you guys and gals from doing your own injustice. If you're on this campus and you're not connecting with your fellow classmates, your fellow teammates, building friendships with the people that are next to you in the dining halls or throwing the frisbee on the quad. Y'all still do that? Picking a bookstore team with 4 other people that you rarely get to talk to, because those are some of the lasting memories that I still have to this day. And when I left this place, it was funny. I told you when I was here, I didn't realize how special Notre Dame was. When I left this place, you can imagine being in New York City and winning Super Bowls, everybody want to talk to you. But they didn't want to talk about football. Because every time I would go do these events, they would read my bio. And obviously in my bio is I was a graduate of the University of Notre Dame. And when I would open up for question and answer, 9 times out of 10, the first question was, tell me something about Notre Dame. Or some question about Notre Dame. They didn't want to talk about sacking Brady. They didn't want to talk about, sorry for all you Boston people in the room. They didn't want to talk about any of that. They wanted to talk about, man, I wish I could get my kid into Notre Dame, or I went to a game there in the Grotto and touchdown Jesus, and is it really gold flake in your helmets, and all this stuff about Notre Dame, and it started to dawn on me. Man, what did I miss? So Reggie Brooks is in the room. He's in the back room, and every time I come here, he's always kind of the guy that kind of, continues to like push me to come back and push me and come back, and he's been very successful at it. But every time I come here, I notice something new that I didn't notice while I was here. Or I notice some tangible thing I can take back to those people who ask me those questions over and over and over and over again. And I think for me, what the Monogram stands for is just that connection. And for all of you, you Monogram winners, congratulations. And I'm not even telling you congratulations because you haven't really did anything yet. I'm more telling your parents for steering you in the right direction when you had no clue where you wanted to go, or your family for always being that rock that you didn't know you needed. You'll figure it out. When you have your sons and your daughters and you figure out how lost they are without you, you'll understand what your parents and your extended family meant for you being in a place like this. But as I walk around this place, I'm reminded of a story, and it hit me. So check this story out if you want to know how special Notre Dame is. I got 2 stories, actually, and I'm going to sit down. So I'm in Tanzania. I'm a big conservationist. I love traveling the world, seeing new places. And I'm there with a very successful family, and they've done things throughout this world that I admire to do myself. And I happened to be in a conversation one night with the president of Tanzania. And we're sitting there and we're talking about all things, life, the migration of the animals coming through the Serengeti, whatever. We're talking about all that. And he somehow Notre Dame comes up, and we sat there for 35, 40 minutes talking about Notre Dame. He could have talked about anything. And the company that we were in, it was a group of people that were a whole lot more interested than I. But this man wanted to talk about the University of Notre Dame. And he would never say Notre Dame. He would always say the University of Notre Dame. Now think about how crazy that is. No offense, but we didn't talk about Harvard. We didn't talk about Yale. My sister went to Yale, so I can talk about them a little bit. But we didn't talk about Stanford. We didn't talk about Northwestern. We didn't talk about whoever else you want to put in that category. We talked about the University of Notre Dame. Now, you heard in my bio, I work at Goldman Sachs. And my job, it really makes my travel very, very unpredictable. So I told Reggie I would do this a few months ago, so it's been on my calendar for a long time. But when your clients call you and they want to meet, you kind of push things back. So I had a big client of mine call me and was like, I need you to come out and see me Wednesday, April 24th. That's the day, right? Look where I'm at. Now, that's not because I made that decision. I told this guy, I said, listen, I will come out to see you if need be, but I have to do an engagement at Notre Dame. And he goes, Notre Dame? Y'all think I'm making this up. This is a true story. He said, Notre Dame? I said, yeah, I went to the University of Notre Dame. He was like, what are you doing there? I got to go speak to the Monogram. He's like, you going to, call me when you get back. Now, that doesn't, I can sit up, I don't know what my time frame is, but I can sit up and tell you stories about that all day, every day. Because this place is special, and you don't know it yet. You've heard people tell you this over and over and over again through recruiting, through your freshman year, for some of you sophomore, juniors, some are leaving seniors. You've heard it. You don't know it yet. But that's not your fault, because none of us have. None of us. None of the greats that ever came through these halls have ever known it. I don't care if your family went here. I don't care if you're your granddad, your grandma, your uncle, your cousin, your brother, your next door neighbor. I don't care if all of them went here before you, and they've told you how great the place is. You don't know it yet. And I'll tell you why. Because when you leave this bubble that we call Notre Dame, you're going to run into people that didn't go here. And I'm guaranteeing you they're going to be envious that you did. They're going to want to talk to you about bookstore. They're going to want to talk to you about football Saturdays. They're going to talk to you about grotto. They're going to want to talk to you about being in the classroom with all of these people that make up this place because they've heard about it. And you still don't know yet. You want to know why? Because you haven't experienced needing somebody that came from here. Reaching out to the alumni base and saying, I'm working on this. Can I come to your office and spend a few moments with you? And you end up spending 3 weeks there just because we're family. And you still don't know about it yet because of all the things that come with being connected with that. And I love you broke it down by the size of it. But that doesn't capture how big that is. And again, I'm this kid from Kelton, Alabama that grew up on a farm. 212 people in my town. 85 of them last name Tuck. True story. True story. Without this place, I wouldn't have any concept of what it means to be a part of something bigger than myself. And that's what you stepped into. It ain't about the name on your jersey or anything that's individual anymore. Because guess what? Regardless if you know it or not, you've signed on a dotted line that says you're going to represent that for the rest of your days. Look around at everybody who has on these jackets and who's won the Monogram today. You're representing them. You're representing me. You're representing every one of us. And guess what? I'm representing you. You think a moment in time and day that goes by while I'm not thinking about what the actions are of what I do? How is that going to look? Because guess what they're going to say if Justin Tuck ever ends up in the news on something bad, that ESPN ticker, and if it ever says anything about Justin Tuck, you know what they're going to say? Former Notre Dame football player. Former Notre Dame tennis star. Former Notre Dame cheerleader. You think I'm lying? This is bigger than you now. And I like to end my speeches with challenges. I normally am talking, when I challenge people, I'm normally talking to fourth graders and below. Because me and my wife are very, very passionate about children's education, so all the schools we sponsor, I challenge our kids. I'm going to challenge you tonight. My challenge to you is this. When you leave this place, you leave it better than you found it. And what does that mean? That means, like I just said, there's so many people here and there that's going to look to you just because you're a Notre Dame alum, a Notre Dame athlete, connect with Notre Dame in any general fashion. They're going to look to you, and they're going to notice everything you do. I was talking to our football players earlier today, just a few minutes ago. When I was in the locker room, they looked at me, not because I was the best player, because they want to see what's so special about this Notre Dame. Have you noticed our rivalry games? Have you noticed it? They're every week. I'm not saying that to be funny. I'm saying that because everybody envies Notre Dame. Alabama only has one rivalry week. Clemson, one. Michigan, one. USC, they call UCLA a rivalry game. They got one. Us? Everybody wants to be Notre Dame. Stop me when I lie. And I'll say this and I'm gonna sit down. When I was getting recruited, you can imagine, I'm from Alabama, so Alabama came to me hard, and a lot of other schools. And I would go to these universities, and I'd go to their campuses, and they would always pull out the red carpet and try to show you why they were special. So I told some recruits this last year, and I'll tell you this. I went to Alabama. They showed me why they were special. I saw why they were special. I went to Florida, saw why they were special. Florida State, saw why they were special. You name it. I saw all these schools. I could tell why they were special. I came to Notre Dame. You want to know why I signed my letter of intent to Notre Dame? Because I couldn't tell why they were special. I had no clue. It bothered me. It bothered me that when I was here, December 7th, 2000, my dad and I was sitting on a bench at the grotto, and it just snowed. And this is my first time seeing like real snow. And I didn't know they took bulldozers and like piled it up. But we're sitting at the grotto, December 7th, 2000. And this is when Juniper still ran through the campus so you could drive close to the grotto. They've changed things around since then. But this car pulls up, and this old lady comes out with a cane. Snow is all over the ground. She takes her shoes off, and she walks up and she prays at the grotto. And on her way back, barefooted, my dad has never met a stranger ever in his life, so he has to ask her, why? What are you doing? She had to be 80 years old, walking barefooted around the grotto. My dad goes up and asks her, why? She goes, you're on hallowed ground. Now just imagine how that sounds to this 17-year-old kid from Alabama. And trust me, I thought I had everything figured out. To hear something like that, I had to come here. I had to find out why this place was so special. And I have not been disappointed since. I hope I'm telling you something that, maybe something that you've already heard before, but in a different light. Because I promise you, man, when you leave this place, you'll never, look back and say, man, I wish I would have went there. And I could tell you stories and stories on and on tonight about how great this place is and how much that interlocking ND means to me. But you guys are on the right path. You're on the right path, and I just encourage you to continue to do what you're doing. And for all of us, as I represent the Monogram Club and the University of Notre Dame in its entirety, if we can ever be helpful in any way, because I can never pay back what Notre Dame's done for me. All I can do is pay forward. So if I can ever be helpful, please contact me, let me know. And if I can, I guarantee I can find somebody that can. God bless you. Go Irish.